What is up? This is that GTA fan 720 with another video. Now, you guys may or may not have seen my video where I transformed Windows 10 into Windows 7. Now, that video was good, but it needed a lot of improvements, so I'm going to redo it. I missed out on a lot of key things that really kind of would have completed the entire thing, so I'm going to redo that soon. However, for now, I realize I don't have Windows 10 on my new computer. Well, it's the same computer, but the hard drive kind of wouldn't... Windows was not booting up for some reason. And it just sat at a black screen with a mouse cursor, and I tried everything, and finally after 6 attempts, or like 6 or 7 attempts, I was able to get into the reset this PC option, and then that didn't work. So I was able to finally get into safe mode, where I was able to back up everything onto an external drive, and I wiped it and completely reinstalled Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. And since I have that disk and I need to make a Windows 10 virtual machine, I'm going to show you how to make a virtual machine. Now, there are many pieces of software that allow you to make virtual machines. There's Parallels, there's VMware, there's whatever that one was called. There's VirtualBox. There's even Hyper-V within Windows, and then there was also it's called like Virtual Client or something like that. I don't remember what it was called. But either way, those are your 3 really big choices: is Hyper-V, VMware Workstation, and VirtualBox. Now, if you're not running the Pro edition of Windows, or you also aren't running Windows 8 or newer, then you have no access to Hyper-V, so you can just forget about it. VirtualBox is a very good option for most people who need basic virtual machine settings. They need basic configuration, but they want control, and they're not very tech savvy, and they just want an easy way. If you're more advanced, you can go with VMware Player, which is essentially a stripped-down version of what I'm currently using, which is a paid software known as VMware Workstation 12 Pro. And this software is awesome for virtual machines. As you can see, I have all my virtual machines to the side. We have this lovely tabbed interface, which, you know, gives me all the different options for VMs. And we have all these different play options. We can do full screen and all that happy stuff. So we are going to go to create a new virtual machine, and it'll pull up this new virtual machine wizard. And this wizard is very nice, because this wizard will basically guide you through the installation of your virtual machine. Whether it's Windows, Linux, Mac OS, Solaris, whatever, you can install it on this. If it's an operating system, even DOS, doesn't matter, you can install it on here with a few little minor exceptions. But for the most part, especially in VMware, I have seen a couple compatibilities when using VirtualBox and Hyper-V, but VMware Workstation seems to be the motherlode of all virtualization software. So this is the new virtual machine wizard. You can do a typical or recommended or a custom advanced. Custom, you only really need to worry about if you're trying to move the virtual machine from multiple computers at once that have different software on them for virtualization, or if you're trying to do anything with SCSI or RAID controllers. But for the most part, we're just going to go with typical, and we're just going to click next. And you can either choose to install from a disk or from a disk image or an ISO file. I'm actually going to go from the disk. It says it could not get the OS, which is kind of weird. I don't know why it's doing that, but nonetheless, did I put the right disk in? Windows 10 Pro V. Yes, okay, I did put the right one in. So we're going to click next, and we're just going to click Microsoft Windows, Windows 10 x64. That's nice. And as you can see, we have plenty of options for 8, 7, NT, XP, 3. All the way back to 3.1. You can, I believe you can install Windows 2 and 1 on here, but I mean, most people aren't going to need to use that. So, and we have every single version of, at least with the servers, with Vista Onward. You only have to choose between 32 and 64-bit, and that only matters. It doesn't matter if you're installing Pro or Ultimate, Business, Home, Premium, Basics, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just Windows 10, x64. And we're going to click Next. We're going to name the virtual machine. I will name it Windows 10 Pro x64. We're going to click Next, and you can choose the hard drive space you want to include. I'm going to do 25.00 gigabytes, and we can store the virtual disk as a single file or split it into multiple files. So you have things like caching and settings in a separate file, and then you just have the disk image file for VMware Workstation. This is a lot better. You can split it as a single file, but I would personally just go with splitting it into multiple files. It makes it easier when you're moving it, and overall it will perform a lot better, especially if you have it configured with a very large hard drive space. Just go with split it into multiple files. Just leave it. This will give you less headaches. So we will click Next, and we have all these. We can customize the hardware selection, how many processors you want, all of that stuff, how many cores, all that stuff. I'm just going to the automatic and everything. You can actually virtualize virtualization. So if you actually want it for some reason, like let's say for compatibility reasons, you want to run a VM of Windows XP, and then inside that you want to run some kind of VM of MS-DOS 6.22. You can do that here. You won't really need to do that in most instances, but you can if you want. If you have no idea what I just said, then completely ignore everything I just said. You can do the memory. This is fairly basic. I'm going to give it 2 gigabytes of RAM, and you can give it however much. Network, I would do NAT for the most secure network in case some kind of virus gets through, or if you want to test out whether a tech support company is legit or not. USB controller for compatibility, all that stuff. I'm going to do show. I'm going to do show all. No. Sound card. I don't have a sound card. Printers, you can do any of that. Pretty much everything. Accelerate 3D graphics is especially important if you're on Windows 7 or Windows Vista, where even the user interface for the most part uses Windows Arrow. Maximum resolution, you can set all of this stuff. Graphics memory, maximum graphics memory. Scaling, automatically adjust user interface size in the virtual machine. So if you have it running within this window, or if you have a full screen, it'll automatically resize it, which is nice. So I'm just going to close out of this and click Finish. And it should pop up. There we go, Windows 10 Pro x64. So we are just going to power on this virtual machine, and it should run us through the installation of Windows. Actually, no, it does not. In this case, since we're installing it off a disk and not using a disk image, we will install Windows as we would on a traditional computer. So basically, it says to install Windows 10. As usual, you click inside the screen, and as you can see, since there's no cursor, because there's no cursor in the UI at this point, if you want to release the cursor from the virtual machine, you press Control-Alt, and your cursor comes back, and you can control your host machine just fine. Now, I'm going to get rid of this, and because there's another way you can actually install VMware tools from this toolbar, and I will show you how to do that. It's literally just as simple as VM install VMware tools, and you can do all kinds of managing. You can do snapshots, capture the screen, all kinds of things. You do not press Control-Alt-Delete when you are in a virtual machine, because that defaults to the host machine. So if I do Control-Alt-Delete, then it just does that, and I don't want that. So we will simply just, if we ever want to send Control-Delete, we click this and just click Send Control-Delete to the virtual machine. And so now we have the Windows 10 Pro 64-bit setup process, which is showing the beautiful blue Windows logo. And oh, there it's starting to load. That's the advantage of rambling, is it makes things seem makes things seem shorter. That's good, Pepsi. And as you can see, it has gone away. So we will be getting into... Oh, I saw a little window pop up. There we go. So we got the nice little purple screen of death. It is running in 800 by 600 display resolution, so that's why it is letterboxed, because we currently don't have a driver, because these drivers are not supported in the Windows pre-installation environment, which is the official term for basically Windows setup. So my language is English, copyright 2016, Microsoft, all that happy horse crap. Enter your language, yes, English, US, yes, next. And you can also repair your computer with this installation disk. I will click install now because we want to install Windows 10 on this virtual machine. Setup is starting, even though I thought setup had already started. So we are going to do that. And it's going to pop up this thing. Log into the guest operating system and click install tools. I'm going to click never remind me because I can install tools myself, thank you very much. And we actually have a cursor. As you can see, the moment we move the cursor inside the virtual machine, it takes control of the mouse automatically. And then once we move it out, it stops at the edge, and then we are free to control our host machine. So if we want to, you know, open stuff or, you know, whatever we want to do, we can do that just fine. You know, so okay, so for this specific ISO, we can select which version of Windows we want to install, Windows 10 Pro or Windows 10 Pro pre-activated. For some reason, my Windows 10 CD that I got from Getting to PC actually gave me an option for a pre-activated ISO. However, I must warn you that according to my CD, the ISO product key will expire on November 3rd. So keep that in mind. I am just going to go with the, I guess I might as well go with the pre-activated one, just because activation's not getting in the way while I use this, because I'm not using it as a day-to-day operating system. I'm only using it for testing and for tutorials, and it is being used for an educational purpose. So yeah, you can slice that however you want to. So it tells us, like, oh, if you're not a volume licensed customer, then you can go to hell, and we will just click accept and say screw you and click next. It gives us an option to upgrade for some reason, but it won't let us do that because there's literally nothing on this hard disk partition. As you can see, we see the 25 gigabyte partition. From this screen, this is where you can actually do, you can create new partitions, and you can delete and extend partitions. Everything involving partitions. If you have no idea what partitions are, and if you see a bunch of drives here and you panic, then don't be alarmed. If you don't know which drive is what, then you can just simply look up the size of the drives in your specific computer, and you can decide, you know, generally whichever, if you have a pre-built PC and you're reinstalling Windows, whatever drive the manufacturer originally put Windows on, just slap it on that drive and delete any and all recovery partitions, because they will not work and they will be inherently useless and wasting space once you do a clean installation of Windows. So since this, in my case, there's only one drive, I'll just simply leave that selected and click next. Okay, so now we're at the point in the install where we get to the out-of-box experience, or the OOBE. Some of you guys don't know what OOBE is. Now you know. It's out-of-box experience. So it's no matter whether you set up Windows or you buy a new computer with it on it, when you turn it on, this is what you first see. In this case, since it's a pro version, it asks me whether it's like a domain or whether I own it. I'm going to click that I own it because I do own it, and I don't have a school or business or company that owns it, so I own it, and I will click next. And then it asks me for my Microsoft account, but I'm not going to put in my Microsoft account because it's a virtual machine, so I click skip this step. Not local account, you click skip this step, and I'm just going to do user for the username. No password, that's fine, I don't care. And we click next. And it says just a moment, and then it'll be doing all your basic stuff like configuring. It's like, we got your stuff, it's all good, we're gonna take your user account, we're gonna make it, we're gonna do all that stuff. And then at this point, the computer is probably gonna start talking to you in very creepy ways. Yep, there you go. It says hi, we're happy. This is really odd because normally this whole screen is supposed to be black, but in this case it's got a black bar with the loading screen in the background, which is kind of odd. I've never seen that before. And now it fixes itself. So this is just like it's telling you, like, hey, welcome to Windows 10, welcome to Windows. We got a lot of cool stuff in the newer versions. They're really cool, you should totally check them out. What is up? This is that GTA fan 720. We are back with this video. Of course, I just signed on to the video, and it's already been going, but different cuts, different things. We have Windows installed, and we are now in the official desktop. So we are officially on the desktop, and the first thing that pops up is network, because every virtual machine you connect treats itself as an Ethernet. So it treats itself as if it's connected to your computer, not directly to your network. So that means that if there is a virus that gets into your machine and they try to leak onto your network, they cannot, because the network sharing does not allow it to do so. So basically anything that happens to your virtual machine will not happen to your physical machine or your network. But if you're actually doing something where something could be a virus, I would still recommend a VPN just in case, just to mask your IP and make you less vulnerable. Just as an extra precaution to be put in place. So in my case, I would always say no to the network sharing, because you can't even really use it because there's no other devices on this quote-unquote network. So as you can see, we are booted into Windows 10. And as you can see, it looks kind of bare. There's no transparency effects, everything's really jittery, and the screen size is really small. But we're going to solve that. We go up here to VM and simply click on Install VMware Tools. And VMware Tools is essentially an all-in-one driver package that gives your entire machine compatibility with VMware, regardless of the drivers and functionality on your host machine. So it's just very simple. So we're just gonna go ahead and let it install. It gives us a nice little help tip, and there we go. It asks us what to do with the disk, the virtual disk drive. So we're going to click on that. We're going to click on run setup64.exe, because in this case this is a 64-bit virtual machine. Give it all administrator permissions. Okay, so it'll say it's preparing VMware tools for installation, and once it is done loading, it will go through the VMware tools setup process. So just give it a sec, and it will indeed load the setup process. Okay, so it's installing, but as you can see, we do have Windows 10 properly installed, so we can open up start menu and everything, which is going to be a bit slow and buggy at first, but that's just kind of what happens. This is the November update build of Windows 10, I believe. So if we go into the settings app, and we do actually still have the transparency despite the fact there's no drivers. So I don't know how Windows was able to do that, but they did it nonetheless. And so we can go to System, and we can find out information about this virtual machine, and basically to see that it does function very similar to a real machine. As you can see, everything here, 2 gigs of RAM. It looks super legit, especially in this case because I have a Core 2 Duo, which is pretty much the right operating system that uses the Core 2 Duo processor. So it pretty much looks like a normal computer, and it will look even more like a computer once we get everything working with installing VMware tools. So as you can see, we got a nice little thing, and it says, "Welcome to the installation wizard for VMware tools." You essentially set this up just like you would any other program. So it's basically just a matter of clicking next. This basically tells you about compatibility between different versions. If you're only using it on one machine, you can just stick with typical, which is what I'm going to do. So click next and install, because I'm not going to use these virtual machines outside of anything other than VMware Workstation Pro. So now it will go through the process of installing VMware tools, and it shouldn't take too long. So it's basically just like setting up any other program. As you can see, everything is working just fine. And of course the display settings and everything is going to be a bit off since there's no proper drivers as of yet, but it is installing the drivers for many different utilities that would require use of VMware. This does allow you to connect you can actually connect and disconnect virtual drives. So if you want to connect your actual DVD drive to this, or like a microphone or something like that, just like you would your real machine, you can do that, but you have to manually do it. And the reason they do that is so that way if you have any like flash storage and your virtual machine gets infected, it doesn't spread onto your host machine via uses of external storage and other devices like that. So that's also another reason why virtual machines are very secure. If you want a nice, stable, secure, controlled environment for testing out software, like this is great for the average user. Even if you just see a cool new program and you want to test it out inside the virtual machine and scan it with a spyware malware scanner to make sure it's safe, make sure it's functional, make sure it is stable, and stuff like that before you eventually install it on your real machine. So once it's done installing everything, it will prompt us to reboot the computer, meaning reboot the virtual machine. And once we reboot, we will have full drivers for everything, and everything will just straight up work. So you won't have to fiddle around with trying to find drivers for your computer. The virtual machine is completely self-contained and self-sustained. So you do not have to worry about that whatsoever. And that's it. You have successfully created your first VMware Workstation virtual machine. Now you are free to have your own little play area for installing software, testing out new firmware, drivers, well, not really drivers, but mostly just software. Whether it's, you want to make an old little Windows 98 machine, maybe plug in a little USB floppy disk into your 8-core Xeon Beast and, play a little bit of Doom, or maybe play some Minesweeper at 4K, you can do that. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope this tutorial helped out some of you guys a lot. And I love posting these kinds of technical related videos. I know my channel is pretty much a cluster at the moment because I have so much stuff on it of varying different things. I plan on doing a bit of organization soon. Sorry, the whole canvas of different parts of this video changed a lot because I've been doing a lot of kind of desktop remodeling as far as my actual computer goes. So excuse my disorienting factors of that. I just hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned a lot from it, and I hope you all have a great day. Don't hate the player. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.